All right, welcome to The Explainer. Let's just dive right into this because we need to talk about a massive, massive myth surrounding the AI tools you're relying on every single day. If you're building, creating, or honestly just trying to stay ahead in the tech space right now, you probably assume that the magic of modern AI lies entirely inside its vast, impenetrable neural networks. But today, we are going to unmask an illusion that is literally reshaping the entire industry. We're looking at a fascinating discovery that flips our understanding of AI architecture completely upside down.
To really wrap our heads around the scale of this illusion, we've got to look at a massive leak that hit recently. A team of researchers managed to pull 500,000 lines of source code from a leaked OpenClaw's repository. 500,000. And when they finally peeked under the hood of a tool that, let's face it, basically every developer is obsessing over, they found something absolutely wild. Get this, 98% of the code, it isn't actually AI at all. No neural networks, no magical decision-making algorithms, it's just traditional software.
Yeah, so out of that massive code base, a tiny sliver, literally just 1.6%, is the actual AI making decisions. When you look at the code, it's basically a simple while loop wrapped around a single function called call model. It gets handed some context, makes a choice, and spits the output back. That is the whole AI part of the equation. The other staggering 98.4%, that's the traditional software infrastructure built all around it. And developers have a specific name for this. They call it the harness.
Now, this stark contrast perfectly highlights the crucial difference between where we've been and where we're rapidly heading. It completely separates simple AI chatbots, which are just focused on generating dialogue, from true AI agents that are built to execute actual real-world tasks. You know that whole just let the AI do everything idea? Well, it doesn't really work like that in practice. To graduate from a chatbot that just talks to an autonomous agent that actually does things, you absolutely depend on that massive, unseen 98.4% infrastructure to hold the whole shebang together.
So, what's actually inside the AI harness? Let's break it down.
What exactly makes up that gigantic 98.4% piece of the pie? If it's not thinking, what is it doing? Well, it turns out the harness is doing all the heavy lifting. The second that tiny 1.6% AI module makes a request, the harness has to catch it and manage it. The leaked code showed this thing is an absolute beast. It's got a permission system with 7 different modes just to double-check if an action is even allowed. There's a 5-layer pipeline built solely to compress your conversation history so the AI doesn't suddenly forget what you're talking about mid-task. It juggles 54 specific execution tools. And, absolutely crucial here, there is a massive focus on breakage recovery systems because, let's be real, things are inevitably going to go wrong.
Honestly, the researchers who dug into this code summed it up perfectly. They said the AI model itself is basically an isolated consultant sitting alone in a room. It only speaks when someone asks it a question. Meanwhile, the harness is the giant corporate operation frantically running around outside that room, making absolutely sure the consultant's advice is actually implemented safely and efficiently. Without that massive operation, your genius consultant is literally just talking to a wall.
Which brings us to a perfect real-world example. Enter OpenClaw the lobster.
To really see this infrastructure in action, we have to look at OpenClaw. This is a personal AI assistant built, as its creators like to say, the lobster way. It was originally designed for a space lobster AI named Multi, which is awesome. But what it actually does is serve as a local first gateway. Think of it as a massive control plane that you run right on your own devices. OpenClaw isn't just another AI model. It is the ultimate harness. It acts as a full-blown control plane from multi-channel agent routing.
And this setup brilliantly illustrates exactly why the harness matters so much. OpenClaw's true superpower isn't its underlying AI brain at all. It's the vast ecosystem it connects to. We're talking about routing your AI assistant into dozens of channels you already use every day. WhatsApp, Slack, Discord, Telegram. It manages continuous voice triggers across macOS, iOS, and Android. It even handles a live agent-driven visual canvas workspace. The AI is just the brain, right? OpenClaw is the central nervous system actually plugging that brain into your life.
But here's the catch. Because OpenClaw unplugs our consultant from that isolated room and drops it into the messy, chaotic real world of Telegram and Slack, the harness has to enforce some incredibly strict security defaults. For instance, it treats literally any inbound direct message as completely untrusted input. If some unknown sender tries to message your agent, OpenClaw's DM pairing policy kicks in instantly. It shoots back a short pairing code, and your bot will completely ignore the conversation until you, the host, explicitly approve that code. That is the harness doing its job, protecting the whole system from rogue inputs.
Furthermore, to keep the AI from accidentally, completely wrecking your system while it's trying to execute tasks, OpenClaw leans heavily on sandboxing. Your main session might run directly on your host machine, so you have full access, sure. But any non-main agent sessions, they are completely isolated. By default, it forces those secondary sessions into secure Docker sandboxes, though you can use SSH or OpenShell backends too. It completely denies them access to your browser or any vital gateway files. Once again, it is that 98% infrastructure ensuring the tiny 2% AI operates safely.
And look, the developer community clearly gets it. They recognize that the infrastructure is the most valuable piece of the puzzle here. This massive TypeScript project has absolutely exploded, skyrocketing to an incredible 366,000 stars on GitHub. That is huge. It's one of the fastest growing open source projects out there, simply because developers are realizing a hard truth. Having a great AI model just isn't enough anymore. You need the control plane.
This brings us to what we're calling the agentic paradigm shift.
The phenomenal success of projects like OpenClaw is signaling a much broader, permanent transformation in the tech industry. We are officially moving out of the era of conversation and into the era of action. Remember that leaked Claude research we talked about earlier? Well, it made a pretty bold prediction. It predicted that as models continue to improve, they're all inevitably going to reach parity. By 2025, they're all basically going to perform identically. So, what happens then? Well, it means the ultimate winners in this timeline, as we look towards 2026 and beyond, are going to be defined solely by the software infrastructure wrapped around those models. This is the agentic shift. The real competitive advantage is no longer the intelligence of the model itself. It's all about the robustness of the harness.
This exact shift was actually the main focus of a massive April 2026 TED Talk given by OpenClaw's creator, Peter Steinberger. Standing in front of a packed room, he explained how this project, which again was originally just built for a space lobster AI named Multi, is fundamentally reshaping how we build, work, and create. He walked the audience through the exact transformative moment he let his AI agent loose on the open internet, basically proving once and for all that the harness is the product. During that talk, Steinberger laid out a totally fascinating and honestly, maybe a little bit unnerving case. He argued that agents aren't just a shiny new upgrade to chatbots. They represent a fundamental societal shift. He boldly declared to the entire audience, the lobster is loose and it's not going back into the tank. I mean, wow. Once we give AI the infrastructure to execute real-world tasks completely autonomously, the whole paradigm changes forever. The infrastructure's already out there, and it's growing like wildfire.
Which leaves us with one final, absolutely vital question to close out our explainer today. We've seen that the AI model itself is literally just 1.6% of the equation, a tiny consultant sitting in a room. And we've seen how projects like OpenClaw are building the sprawling 98% infrastructure required to actually get things done. So, when having the absolute smartest AI brain is no longer a competitive advantage, who is going to build the ultimate machine around it to win? It's a question every single developer and tech leader needs to be asking themselves right now. Thanks for hanging out with us to unpack this, and seriously, keep your eyes on the infrastructure.